I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is. Eventually people are going to say, what the hell is going on? It's not enough to say it's nuts. You have to explain why it's so nuts. The invention of artificial life, the cloning of human beings, possible contact with extraterrestrials, the systems which are in place to keep the world sane are utterly inadequate to the forces that have been unleashed.
Welcome back to Forbidden Knowledge News. I'm your host, Chris Matthew. Today my guest is Lester Velez. I've got some amazing upcoming guests. Tomorrow, Scott Armstrong, Tyler Scott, Brad Olson, and Raw Cloud. Be on the lookout for those. Also, check out my films. Occult Louisiana is on Tubi. Doors of Perception is on Amazon Prime. We are booking guests for May. If you have suggestions or you'd like to be a guest, email me forbiddenknowledgenews@gmail.com. Today, I want to welcome back to the show Lester Velez. He is a paranormal and UFO researcher, co-founder of Opus, the Organization for Paranormal Understanding and Support. Lester, welcome back. How you doing?
Great to be here. Thank you.
It's great to have you back. It has been a while since you've been on. And since the last time we spoke, my perspective about UFOs and extraterrestrials is probably much different. As usual, as I come across new information and have new experiences, my perspective may shift if the information resonates. I've come to an interesting place where I definitely don't trust the government or media, and it's becoming a bit difficult to navigate some of the information within the UFO community itself. If anything, the unfortunate case of Paul Bennewitz should have taught many of us about trusting the officials that share the information. But my question is, where do we go from there? Where does the real phenomena begin and the deceptions end? I'm highly skeptical about traditional UFO narratives these days, but I am hoping that you can help myself and my audience navigate this phenomena. I want to share your thoughts based on your years of research so that we can put some puzzle pieces together and try and understand this. But it has been a while since you've been on. Before we get to anything, remind the audience a bit about yourself and let them know how they can find out more.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm the co-founder and chairman of Opus, as you can see behind me, the Organization for Paranormal Understanding and Support. My doctor friend and I founded this organization back in 1994. We're a 501c3 nonprofit organization recognized by the IRS. Basically, our mission is to help people having paranormal experiences. And how we do that is through a confidential online support group where we have over 500 people from around the world that are talking about their experiences to one another. We also have a referral network of mental health practitioners and hypnotherapists that people can utilize if they so desire. And then we have a triage group, our EST group. These are people that are very experienced in many of the phenomena that we come into contact with, and talk to these people as they come into our organization for help and try to understand the best way to help them. So that's it in a nutshell. And people can go to our website at opusnetwork.org, and it'll give you the whole picture on what we do.
This is why I really enjoy the work you're doing, because in my perspective, getting the story from the experiencer themselves is going to be the most valuable information that we have about these experiences, not from books that we read or what the government or media is telling us to believe about it, but from people who have actually had the interactions and experiences with non-human intelligences.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely
yes, sir.
right.
And I think a good place to start today, since it's been a while, remind the audience what got you involved with the paranormal and ufology.
Yeah, it goes back to when I was 11 years old, living in Connecticut, and I was coming into the house. It was already getting dark. It was late October, and I came was coming in after feeding my dog, and I noticed off to my right this object. It was an oval in shape, self-illuminated, totally silent, kind of moving over a tree line and slowly going, off into the distance. But it scared the hell out of me because I've never seen anything like that. It wasn't a balloon. It wasn't, anything or blimp. Uh, and I ran in a house and trying to get my dad to come out. And by the time I convinced him to come out, it was gone. And he said, "Oh, it's probably just a beacon of light reflecting off a cloud." Well, I I just didn't buy that, and I started to go to the library and started picking up books on UFOs. And back in those days, George Adamski was the preeminent author talking about his contact with the Venusians, and he had incredible pictures of the craft. Um, and through his telescope from Mount Palomar. I mean, they were just fantastic. So I was totally hooked, and I got into it for a while, and then it kind of faded from my interest as I got older. Girls became a little more
Mhm.
important in my life, and then I went off to college and went through the ROTC program, went into the military, the Army, and the artillery, was there for 6 years, and then got out and went to work for Procter and Gamble for a while, and then another electronics company. And during that process, I got an opportunity to get involved with a company on the West Coast. So I moved from Connecticut to San Jose, California, and I picked up the newspaper one day, the San Jose Mercury News, and a gentleman by the name of Stanton Freeman, a nuclear physicist, was coming to San Jose City College to talk about UFOs and the government cover-up. Oh my God, it was like somebody threw a switch, and I
Hmm.
got really excited, and I went there expecting to see a handful of people. But it was just the opposite. The auditorium was packed. He gave his usual inimitable presentation with showing a lot of things that are redacted by the CIA, on all these documents that he was able to get. And so I was so jazzed. As my way out, there was a table set up by an organization by the name of MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, which is an organization that was started here in Seguin, Texas, by a couple of engineers. And their mission is basically to understand the phenomena for the betterment of mankind. So I said, "Oh my goodness." Well, I found out that they had a monthly journal. And so I started to get that. And after a while, that wasn't enough. But there was great stories in their case studies and things of that nature. So those were great. But I just wanted a little bit more. I wanted to dig in further. So found out that they had a field investigator training course, and I took that and passed, and started to go out. In the field with a more experienced investigator. And the first case we came upon was a woman that claimed that she had seen an object, and then later said that she had contact with the non-human intelligences. And I was kind of a nuts and bolts kind of guy, and I was kind of skeptical about that. And but I let it go. Okay, we took the information down. But then we got another case, and then another case, the same scenario. These people not only saw something, but then they had contact with these non-human intelligences. And so at that point, I started to say, okay, there's something definitely going on here. And one day, one of the experiencers asked if I knew of other people that were having these types of experiences. And I said, yes, I do. And so the next thing I know, I'm facilitating a support group in my office in San Jose. And this is what you said before. Listening to these people, I learned so much more than any book that I had picked up to that point. And it was just absolutely wonderful to listen to these stories, to hear their stories, and to see the emotions, the empathy, the what the effects that these experiences had on these people. They were quite significant. And so that's kind of how we got involved in it. And then one day I got a call from the international director of MUFON asking me if he could give a reporter's name, my contact information to this reporter that wanted to write an article about such things. And so I said, sure, go ahead. And reporter came out. He wrote up a really nice article. It was printed in the Monterey Coast Weekly paper, and soon thereafter, I got a call from a woman down in Carmel, California, that had read the article and said, "You know what? I would really like to understand what's going on with my brain waves when I'm in contact with these entities." And I, sort of scratched my head and said, I don't know how I'm going to possibly help you with that. But then she said she was working with an emergency room doctor down in Carmel. And that kind of triggered me because I had a doctor friend, Dr. Eugene Lipson, that was interested in meeting other doctors that were interested in the phenomena. So I called him up and I said, hey, why don't we go down there? We can see this woman, but also you could meet this doctor. And we can see how the afternoon goes. So this one Saturday afternoon, we went down there. And as we walked into her house, there was a picture on the wall. And she's standing on the back of a rather large vessel in crystal clear blue waters. And I asked her, I said, what's that all about? That looks really nice. Yeah, I was helping some treasure hunters. And I said, really? How were you helping the treasure hunters? And she said, well, I was in touch with the captain of the galleon that had gone down. So that started the afternoon off, kind of blew our minds right there at the front door. And what we found out subsequently was that after a near-death experience, she became very psychic and telepathic and started to connect with a lot of these different entities. And so the rest of the afternoon, she was telling us things about ourselves, our business. There was no possible way she could know any of that. So we came away that afternoon and stopped at a hamburger joint and decided that if we're going to help people, we need to set up an organization. And then soon thereafter, Opus was hatched and became officially a 501(c) nonprofit organization. And the rest is history now. Oh, and we've been doing this for over 30 years now.
Tell me a little bit about how your perspective and understanding of this UFO, even paranormal in general, may have changed since you first started interviewing people and working with this.
Yeah, I think, boy, I tell you, the last couple of years since 2017, that article that came out in the Times by Leslie Kean and company, that got the ball rolling in a huge way. And consequently, now we've had congressional hearings. The whole attitude has changed remarkably. The stigma is still there, but not as bad as it's been. And so we're starting to get the scientific community being more receptive to getting involved with it. And I think that gives a real impetus to these people that have had experiences, these experiencers, a confirmation of the fact that, hey, yeah, I've seen these things. They're real. And now the government is, talking about it, which is huge, which is absolutely huge. And so I think that this year, still is going to be quite pivotal in seeing where we end up or where we're going to go. Now, we do have issues still. We have one side that wants it to come out, and you have the other side that doesn't want it to come out.
Yeah.
And so now you're starting to get the old CIA involvement in this and trying to denigrate people that come forward, the whistleblowers, and saying that no, they don't know, they weren't there, they didn't have any information, and causing problems with them. I mean, even physical problems to some respects. So it's getting dicey it's also getting very dicey now as far as people coming forward, and Grush was threatened, and so but you have people, very credible people coming forward now, Graves and the rest of the pilots that have already come forward in the congressional hearings. That's extremely significant. So the whole playing field has changed significantly. And I think that now we get literally uh, two to three people contacting us almost every other day. It goes without fail, looking for help and what experiences that they're dealing with.
Yeah.
And I think I had the opportunity right before COVID shut everything down to have lunch with Lou Elizondo. And he was up in our area here interviewing Terry Lovelace
Hmm.
um, for their show Unidentified, which never aired the episode, by the way. And
Interesting.
I kind of understand why. Um, they were focused mostly on the nuts and bolts aspects of the thing, and they didn't want to start bringing in the experiencer part of it. And
Hmm.
that's why this whole thing so far has been uh, focused on the nuts and bolts aspects of it. Okay, how does it operate? Which Lou mentioned during lunch. They kind of know how it operates, which
Mm.
is an interesting factor. Yeah, the government knows a hell of a lot more, and
Yeah.
they're still keeping it, under their kimono, so to speak. But uh, we came away from that afternoon understanding that yeah, there's a whole lot more knowledge out there with regard to the phenomena, but they still want to keep it focused on that because the next step is to bring the experiences forward, as you mentioned. Who knows better than these people that have actually had, face to face, literally, experiences with these entities?
Mm.
Um, and but they have interviewed these people. The government has interviewed many people. I mean, in the case of Terry Lovelace, I mean, he and his buddy got abducted in Devil's Den, Arkansas, and the government, oh my goodness, they gave him sodium pentothal. They
Yeah.
put him through the ringer, uh, trying to get as much information out of him. And so the government knows a lot on that aspect, but they don't want to talk
Mm.
about it yet.
Well, that's what I was going to go to next. Depending on who you ask, the government is keeping the UFO phenomena under a tight wrap because either there are free energy implications that they don't want the general public to have access to, or there could be spiritual implications that they believe the public may not be able to handle at this time. It could also be both of those things put together, which I lean more towards that there's a combination of things, but in my perspective, there definitely is a spiritual component that is starting to slowly make its way into the mainstream narrative. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I've always said that these people that are having these experiences, it becomes a spiritual experience. Okay,
Mm,
because their worldview changes significantly. They come back with the feelings that we need to be better stewards of the planet. We need to we need to be more loving. We need to be better to one another. This is all very significant. And I feel that someday we'll reach critical mass, and enough people have been abducted and come back with that worldview that we won't have any more wars, and we'll finally make that step into a peaceful environment instead of having all these wars all the time, and the poverty and the people being hungry and things of that nature. So I think but now there's the flip side of all that, these are maybe people that are having experiences with the quote unquote good aliens, if you will,
hmm
versus the bad aliens,
hmm
which there seems to be a group that exists in that regard. And
hmm
just as, and the same thing goes that, we have good people and bad people here on this plane. on this earth. And the same thing is going on out there. There's good ones and there's bad ones as well. It's a whole different reality. It's a
Mm.
whole different reality that we don't understand. Are they all extraterrestrial, or is it interdimensional in nature? Is it time travel? Is it our military? Or is it all the
Right.
above, and anything you can think of?
Yeah.
Anything you can think of.
Tell us about what you're doing at Opus, what the mission is, what the organization is involved with, how you help people.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, our mission basically is to help people having paranormal experiences. And of course, paranormal covers a wide variety of things, whether it's poltergeist activity, angels, demons, you name it. But as over the years, most of the people that are coming to us are people that are having experiences with non-human intelligences. Okay,
Mhm.
now that so far has been people that have had physical contact with a solid entity, whether it's a gray, whether it's a reptilian, whether it's a Nordic, if it's a oh, I'm blanking on it, praying mantis type.
Palladian or
Yeah,
Yao Mantis.
playing mantis type. That's
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And so you know, so what we've done is to assemble basically a lot of our people in the group and the board, etc., uh, have that kind of a background. But if somebody comes into us with something where we can't handle it internally, what we will do, we will have these people, we'll refer them to another organization that handles those kind of things. When somebody wants to have somebody come out and do a paranormal investigation because they have poltergeist activity, we can send
Mm,
them to another organization.
I
Uh,
see.
to handle those kind of things, or people having spiritual, Kundalini awakening and those kind of things. There's another organization that we can send them to. What our main focus has been is to provide a place where these people with total neutrality on our part, to be able to talk to one another about their experiences, which we've found to be probably the most helpful thing, because then they know they're not alone. Because a lot
Mm,
of times they can't talk to family members, they can't talk to clergy, they can't talk to fellow workers, because they're afraid that people are going to think they're crazy. And matter of fact, a lot of these people that come to us have already gone to a psychologist or a psychiatrist because they thought they were going crazy and found out that they didn't have a psychopathology. And so then what? What are you doing next? And so now we've been able to give them that. And this support group has been a tremendous vehicle for people. And because it's online, you can be anywhere in the country and able to talk. That thing, the conversation is going 24/7,
mm,
24/7. Then if they're looking for further assistance, whether it's a mental health practitioner, because a lot of these people deal with PTSD,
mhm.
which is significant. And we also have hypnotherapists if they're trying to remember more about the experience, that they're having issues. Um, but yeah, so that kind of is it in a nutshell. And then on our website, we have articles and recommended books, and we have research papers on there. We have the omega-3 study, where we took 71 people that claimed that they had experiences, and 51 people that were a control group. And we had them go through 9 different psychological tests. And the bottom line is that none of the people had a psychopathology. None of them were crazy. None of them were fantasy prone, which is a lot of the debunkers talk about the fact, oh, yeah, these people are just making this shit up. um, but no. And so, and I mentioned earlier, they come back with a totally different worldview on how they need to participate with fellow man and in our environment, which is really good. Um, I'm going to throw out a crazy thing here. that my latest theory is that we've all had an experience, whether we consciously remember it or not. Okay. And I think this is part of the universal process, if you will. And the reason why I bring that up is one day in the support group, a person said to me, "Oh, I've seen you before." I said, "Oh yeah, where at the grocery store, gas station, UFO conference?" No, 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 no. I saw you on board the craft. I said,
Hmm.
"Really?" And I kind of blew it off. And it was probably a year and a half, almost 2 years later, that a totally different person said the same thing to me. He said, "Oh, I've seen you before." And I said the same thing, UFO conference, etc. No, no, no. You were sitting on the bench naked on board the craft and you were freaking out. And they told me to go over to you to calm you down. Well, I said, okay. At that point, I decided to go and get a regression done. And I
Hmm.
had 3 regressions done. And I did not find out anything specifically in that regard, but I had multiple past lives. And subsequently, I talked to someone later about what this person told me about and said, well, perhaps they might have been in a past life with you and saw that happen. Well, what we've found so far is that these entities can manipulate time and space in a big way. In a big way. They can bring you back before they take you. I mean, doing crazy things, Um, uh, you may hear this from people that have, been in their car, and next thing you know, they're 50 miles down the road, and they have no recollection of how they got there. And there's many stories, and I wrote a book a couple of years ago called "The Unknown Other and the Existential Proposition of Alien Contact," which is on Amazon. And I talk about many stories like that in there. There's like 25 stories from various experiencers, and then also the book talks about the physical aspects, the psychological aspects of the phenomena, and so I really have. I was very skeptical in the beginning. I was, as I said, a nuts and bolts kind of guy, but I'm totally the other side now. I think this is a reality that we do not understand, and the big word of the day is consciousness, and how
Yeah.
consciousness is part of this whole thing. Um, and what is consciousness?
Right.
That's somebody can answer that. That's a good step. But I think it's very difficult to really, you know, uh, try to put your arms around it and understand it fully. Because where is consciousness? Is it up in here in your head? Is it in your heart? Is it,
Yeah.
where does that lie? Um,
Well, you said something that makes a lot of people a little nervous about the phenomena itself. You said that these beings are capable of manipulating time and space, something beyond what we could understand. To many, this brings theological implications. Are we dealing with what is understood as angels and demons? What does that mean for the people who are interacting with this? Is there a level of deception if the phenomena has a demonic side to it? What are your thoughts about the theological implications and the fact that they can control things like space and time and reality?
Yeah, I think, like I say, we have good people here and bad people, and I think the same thing is going on out there. And so you have people in our online support group that have had very positive experiences, and others have had very negative experiences.
Mhm.
And so I think that for instance, we've had a couple of people come to us, actually more than a couple of people, talking about demonic possession.
Mhm.
And we do have a resource for that where we can send them to be depossessed, if you will, if they're having
Mhm.
those kind of issues. Um, and that seems to be very real. We don't understand it. We don't understand it, but it seems to be very, very real. And so it does present issues. And I think that's why Lou Elizondo talks about, what's their intent? Why are they here? What are they doing? Now he's talking about the solid crafts and things like that. But there's this whole other level,
Yeah.
with light beings, interdimensionals, orbs, poltergeists, all this kind of stuff. And a lot of times, not only do you have the typical gray contact, but you also have poltergeist activity that's going on at the same time. So it gets very convoluted. There's no easy answer to this. But you just need to remain open-minded about it and say, hey, look, here's the situation that I'm having, and it's XYZ. And is there some way I can ameliorate the situation so it's not as scary for me, or how can I stop it? So we get a lot of that kind of thing going on as well. Once you go down this rabbit hole, it gets pretty wild.
There seems to be overlap with altered states, people who have psychedelic experiences, meditative experiences, even through dreams, can have very similar experiences to those who are being abducted or having alien contact. In many cases, it does seem that the person's perception at the time of the experience will dictate if it's going to be a positive or negative experience, may even dictate what they're going to encounter. Would you agree that a person's perception when going into an experience could heavily affect the nature of it?
Oh, sure. Especially if you're a very religious person, I mean, you might have an experience that's negative, and right, first thing you would think of is it's demonic.
Yeah.
So it really depends on your worldview going, prior to the experience itself, how you handle it. Some people are able to handle it pretty well. Others don't, and have real issues. I mean, a lot of them have their life gets destroyed, absolutely destroyed. They can't work, they can't eat, they can't sleep. It's a real tragedy when that happens. And so yeah, the only thing I say is the fact that you're not alone. We hear you, and we're here to help you as best we can. And we may not be able to fully help them, but we can at least help them in some way, shape, or form, so that they know that, number one, they're not alone. They
Yeah.
have a place they can talk to people. And when a person comes to us for support, we give them two options. One, would you like to be put into the support group? Or two, would you like one of our EST members, our experiencer support team member, contact you and talk to you about it? And most of the time, people say both. They want to go into the support group and they want somebody to talk to, a real person, not an AI.
Yeah. Based on the experiencers that you've worked with, has there been more positive or negative experiences? Is there a balance?
Yeah, most of the time when people come to us, they've mostly had not so good experiences.
Okay.
But when we do a survey, and we just recently conducted a survey, actually we've done two surveys. One that goes back to 2007, that MUFON actually paid for, and where we took those 71 people and gave them those psychological tests. The majority of those people, like over 50%, didn't have bad situations, but they all, whether it's good in the long run or bad in the long run, the first, it becomes ontological shock to
Yeah.
have that kind of thing really hit you in the face, literally. And so, but as these abductions or experiences continue, their worldview changes significantly and they start to get comfortable with it. So there's like three phases: scared as shit, kind of agree with it, and then when it stops, it's like the Stockholm syndrome. What happened? How come they're not coming for me anymore? How come they're not talking to me anymore? It's really interesting that there's three distinct phases, and it depends on how many experiences you have. If you only have one bad one and you don't have any more, that's the way you're going to feel about it for the rest of your life. But most of the time, if these experiences continue on, they get a more positive feeling about the experience.
Is there a consistency amongst the experiences? Meaning, are these people getting the same messages from the same beings? Say a gray extraterrestrial is doing experiments on them. The tall whites are giving them warnings about taking care of the earth. Is that consistent with each person's experience? And are the beings giving consistent messages?
Yeah, and I think again it depends on which group you're dealing with, and as I said before, you have the good guys and the bad guys, and if you're unfortunately dealing with the bad guys, they may be feeding you a line of crap, and just to get what they want. So it's hard to discern in some cases, especially for the experiencer.
Yeah.
What do I believe? What do I believe? And so I think you have to be kind of as discerning as you possibly can be, as to what is happening and what does it really mean to you. But luckily, so far, there seems to be an overwhelming majority of positive types of things that are going on with the people. And, it's like 70-30. 70% of the people are pretty comfortable with it and they're okay. And this other 30% are really still having negative feelings about the whole thing.
Earlier, you mentioned the possibility of the military being involved with this phenomenon to a certain degree. I've had several guests that claim to have been involved with military abduction scenarios, things like the secret space program. Again, it's difficult to really know what's happening with this. We don't have any concrete evidence for any of this. But based on the consistency of experiences that I have heard with people having an extraterrestrial experience, but also looking around and seeing military personnel involved, seems to happen quite often. Have you interviewed many people that have had the military experience?
Oh yeah, yeah. Melinda Leslie is one that has had a real interesting time with the Mill Lab side of things. She's talked about it often. Matter of fact, I interviewed her. I do interviews myself, as you know, and is on YouTube under Opus Separate Word Network. And she talks about what she went through dealing with the military. The military is very interested in what's going on, and supposedly, we have some kind of agreement that again goes back to the Eisenhower days, where this craft landed at Holloman and this thing came out and they agreed to, okay, you guys can abduct so many people, and as long as you give us some technology. And of course they've blown past that number, I'm sure, years and years ago. But so it's something that I think is definitely happening. I think our government is well aware. In this Israeli general Haim Eshed that brought out a book a year or so ago, talked about the fact that we're dealing with them. We have bases on the moon. We have bases on Mars. That's Space Force. I wonder how that came about or why it came about. Things are starting to leak out. That we've been out there in space already doing a lot of wild things, and so I think. As you said in the very beginning of the show, is like, what do you believe? Who do you believe? What do you believe? Who do you believe? it's becoming more and more difficult, especially with all this AI stuff going on.
Oh yeah.
Uh, there's so much stuff out there that is just baloney. And
Hmm.
but you got to hang your hat on people that have a good reputation, like a Grant Cameron or George Knapp or Coulthard or people like that that have maintained a status in the community for all
Hmm.
these years that has been very positive. And so they try to vet any information they get as best they can. And so I tend to listen to those sources as much as I can for what because they're doing some real good digging into a lot of this stuff.
Yeah. Now, through your own research and studies, you're attempting to understand psychological and physiological characteristics of alien contact.
Mhm.
Could you tell us a little bit about what you've found so far?
Oh, sure. As a matter of fact, one of the things I talk about in the book is the physical effects that these experiences have on people and the psychological effects, of course. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so some of the physical effects that people talk about all the time are lost or missing or compressed time, audible tones before contact, sudden abnormal silence before feeling of presence, nosebleeds, unusual marks on a body, puncture marks, triangular marks, dots, surgery marks that heal abnormally fast, scoop marks, implants, unusual stains on the body. What? Let me talk about the implants for a second because
Yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with the late Dr. Roger Lear. He
Yeah.
did, yeah, and he did, a lot of surgeries, about 17 surgeries on people that had implants.
Hmm.
And he subjected these implants to rigorous scientific study through well-respected labs. And some of the things they found out are just remarkable. One, of course, there's no inflammatory rejection reaction by the body to these foreign objects.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, when you get a splinter in your finger, you got it.
Yeah.
It hurts like hell.
Hmm.
No visible portal of entry.
Hmm.
Collections of specialized nerve endings surrounding the object. An outer coating of ceramic biological material. A metallic phase where inorganic metal becomes biological tissue. Now, this one blows my mind. The emission of radio waves, which are deep space frequencies in the FM band. So, who's
Hmm.
listening?
Yeah. Somebody's
Who's
listening.
listening? Electromagnetic fields in excess of 10 milligauss, composition of meteoric iron 66, rare earth metals such as U-236, a single isotope of uranium existing by itself, as well as elements such as uridium, which is very rare and hard to find in the Earth's crust, non-terrestrial isotopic ratios indicating the involved elements did not come from Earth. Now
Hmm.
that right there. That that's significant. Um, I mean, it goes on and on. That Metallic caverns that are no larger than a diameter of one atom,
Hmm.
resistance to ordinary cutting techniques such as metallic sawing or severing with a cutting instrument. One of the specimens had to be cut with a laser. I mean, it just goes. And his book, Alien Scalpel, Alien and the
Hmm.
Scalpel, uh, is a hell of a read, and he has pictures in there of all the implants, and I have pictures of those implants in my book as well. But continuing on with the physical aspects, paralysis, recurring headaches, eye and vision issues, moving through a window or solid matter. Boy, you hear that story a lot,
Yeah.
where all of a sudden goes through a window. I've been involved with a case of a kid who's now a man. When he was 5 years old, he was living right next to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, of all places. And one night he was abducted and he was taken through the window with his blanket. The blanket got stuck in the window, but he was pulled through.
Hmm.
The military came in the next day and took out the whole window. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. And
I was going to ask you if if you knew of any documented physical cases where they had evidence of someone being pulled through a window, because I had a young lady, actually several guests, that recorded their bedroom, and they recorded themselves sleeping because they were experiencing extraterrestrial abduction, or they thought they were.
right.
And during the recording, it recorded all night, and they were in bed the entire night, but they swear that they would be taken. And they have an understanding that it was more of an etheric or astral experience, that their light body or their consciousness was exiting their body, and then that is what was having the
Mhm.
experience. What are your thoughts about that? Because the experience you just described seemed pretty
Mhm.
physical.
Oh, it was physical. Um,
Mm,
the thing, the thing is that yes, you could have vivid, lucid dreams, astral travel. I mean, that people can do that. I mean, there are people that practice that. They can actually do it at will.
mhm.
Um, and so that's certainly part of it. That's certainly part of it. But when you talk about these physical aspects, as I'm talking about right now, especially people coming back with puncture marks and scoop marks and things
Right.
of that nature or implants, that's a whole nother ball game, you
Mhm.
know, especially when you align that with the fact that, yeah, I was brought on board the craft. I was laid on a table. They stuck needles and things in me. They took my semen or the eggs of a woman. And, the whole thing is just, it's multifaceted. It's not just one thing. Um,
Mm.
yeah, I mean, talking about like being taken up in a beam of light, lying on an exam table, as I just mentioned, and being probed, missing fetuses.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a whole nother thing. Out of body experiences, poltergeist activity, orbs, telepathy, psychic abilities, metallic taste in the mouth, feeling of heat or sometimes sunburn. It goes on and on. And but the missing fetus thing, one of our board members, she claims uh, uh, Geraldine Orozco. I don't know if you've ever
I
heard of her,
have.
but
I've heard of her.
yeah, and she talks about the fact that she's had multiple missing fetuses and has like 21 children out there,
Mm.
up there. Um, so and of course the psychological effects, anxiety, fear of specific locations, flashbacks, sleep disturbances, phobias, depression, confusion, PTSD, inappropriate reactions like what individual experience like with Whitley Strieber's book. When that book came out, people freaked, when they
Mhm.
saw that picture of that alien on there.
Yeah. The fact that there can be so much overridden during this experience, we can be paralyzed, our thoughts can be read. It seems highly intrusive. And on top of that, people are claiming to have their fetuses or their unborn children taken from them. This seems like an overriding of our free will in many ways. And I can see why so many people are very cautious about any type of positive phenomena that they come across, because there's so much darkness happening in the other side. When it comes to things like people's hybrids, tell
Hmm.
us a little bit more about this. Have you had anyone that has met their children physically on a craft?
Yes. Hmm. Oh, absolutely. Matter of fact, Geraldine Orozco is one of them.
Mm.
And if you go to her website, I off the top of my head, I don't know what her website is, but yeah, she talks about that. She talks about that a lot. It was very traumatic for her to go through that whole phase. She became very sick,
Now, did
after
the
a lot of
beings
these
tell
incidents.
her anything about why they were doing this to her?
Well, that's the $64,000 question, as they say. There's multiple theories about why they're doing this. One is the fact that they are doing this to propagate their genes, okay, in
Mm.
some way, shape, or form, because they've lost the ability to procreate, I guess, and so they're doing it in this manner, uh, with some manipulation of the two uh, uh, sources. Um, And then another one is that, well, this could be a way to take over without pulling
Mm,
out their ray guns, you know. Eventually,
yeah.
if everybody becomes a hybrid, uh, it'll have that same mindset, and then you just you slowly take over the place. Uh,
Hmm.
but there's no definitive way to discern that, at least not at this point.
Have you considered the possibility that all of this could be the same phenomena presenting as different beings, as different intelligences, that it's all one energetic consciousness that can manifest as different things, that can hijack our consciousness, make us see whatever it wants us to see, present itself as whatever it wants us to perceive it as, and maybe a sort of evolutionary guiding force for humanity. If you look at how the phenomena has shifted over the years, how the crafts have changed in the sky, how the beings have went from fairies and gnomes to gray extraterrestrials, could it be that we're
Sure.
dealing with the same thing that is an evolutionary companion to humanity?
Well, I tell you that's a good place to start a conversation for sure.
Hmm.
I I think there's an evolutionary process going on for humanity, just in general. Um, as we Gary Nolan has done a couple of really interesting presentations about the fact that, well, geologists claim that the Earth is 4.5 billion years old,
Hmm.
and that humanity, our genome, um, mutates about every 600,000 years. Well, for us to be where we are right now in our evolutionary process, the planet would literally have to be 9 billion years old instead of 4.5 billion,
Hmm.
unless somebody was manipulating our genome way back when.
Hmm.
And this is kind of is the reason why people are being followed generation by generation by these entities. Because if you talk to one person and say, by the way, did your parents have a problem or your grandparents? Next thing you know, they ask the question, and the next thing you know that yeah,
Yeah.
they've had an experience. And also, uh, he examined some uh, a rather large group of people that claimed that they had these experiences, and they looked inside their brain. They did MRI type of a thing, and saw in their caudate putamen area there was a lot more connections um, in these people that also said that they had psychic abilities and telepathic capabilities. Well, the
Mm.
interesting is then they found out that yes, their parents had the same thing going on, and these people tend to migrate to people that also have that same type of a thing going on in their brain and that same type of capability. So here's an evolutionary process that's going on. So eventually, it'll only be those people that will be on this planet that have that capability, telepathic capability, psychic capability, and who the hell knows what's going to happen after that happens. But
Mm.
uh, yeah, it's fascinating. I mean, there's so many aspects to this thing.
What are your thoughts about people that have come back with implants that claim to have new abilities as humans, new connections, new understandings, new downloads, possibly even telepathy, abilities that they didn't have before? Do you think this could be associated with implants?
Um, that's a good question. I don't know if the implant is a significant factor in psychic or telepathic capability. I
Mhm.
think there's something else going on to make that happen. Because from what we've found out, that even when these things are removed, that ability seems to stay there. It doesn't
Mhm.
disappear. Um, as a matter of fact, Strieber has one behind his ear, And they tried to remove it one time, and the damn thing moved on him. And then they said, "Okay, stop." And they told him, because they communicate with him through that implant. And he says, and I've been on his show. He says that they've helped him write books. Giving him guidance on writing books. So it's certainly a communication device, if nothing else.
Yeah.
I've also heard that these implants monitor our health in some way, shape, or form. So especially if they're concerned about a person, I suppose that would be a good way to monitor a person.
Yeah. There are many, including sections of our military, that would paint the entire phenomena as a threat. I believe that if they were a threat, they would have taken action a long time ago. It's my perspective that it's more likely whatever this is has been with humanity since humanity's existence. I think there would be more of a threat from other humans over a lot of this phenomena. But in closing, what would you like to leave the audience with as a final thought about what we discussed tonight?
Yeah, I think that the debunkers get on their high horse and they talk. Well, sleep paralysis is the reason for all of this. Well, 2/3 of all cases, whether in a bedroom or not, do not involve sleep paralysis. Okay, so forget about that. Fantasy proneness I talked about in that study. We found that nobody has that going on. And then there's another thing they talk about is false memory syndrome. Well, the American Psychological Association nor any other mainstream psychological diagnostic system is either ratified or proven such a diagnosis. So again, the majority of these people do not have a psychopathology. They're not crazy. They're having physical things going on with them. They have artifacts in their bodies. So the bottom line is that we, as an organization, are totally neutral about this. We hear you. If you have an issue, we'd love to talk to you. We can put you into our support group. We can have one of our members contact you, and we can also refer you to mental health practitioners if you so desire, or a hypnotherapist. So if you're interested in more information, go to opusnetwork.org. We're also on YouTube. If you go to Opus separate word network, you can see a lot of the interviews that I've done there. I also have a book on Amazon called The Unknown Other and the Existential Proposition of Alien Contact, which talks about the physical, psychological aspects, and a lot more information that I think you'll find quite interesting, including 25 stories from the experiencers themselves, which is significant. So I think that, if you go to any of our sites, we also have Facebook group and page. Get there, especially the YouTube site. Hit the subscribe button, the like button, all that stuff that people talk about all the time. And we certainly appreciate it. And I really appreciate it talking to you today. It's been great.
Yes, wonderful discussion. I'll have all your links easily accessible for everyone. We'll definitely have to do this again. And until next time, everyone, have a wonderful evening. We'll talk again tomorrow. Hello, friends. I am so excited to tell you about Independent Media Token. Independent Media Token is a brand new way to show your support for independent media without having to donate a dime. Independent Media Token is a cryptocurrency on the Solana blockchain designed to generate funds to promote and foster the growth of independent content creators, allowing them to engage in their art without having to worry about being demonetized. Through a network of media partners, of which you yourself can become a part of, Independent Media Token's goal is to ensure the powers that be can never cut off all of our areas of funding and censor the only free voices left in the world. Join the movement today. You can pick up Independent Media Token using Phantom Wallet or the Solana wallet of your choice, where you can easily swap your Solana for IMT. Grab some IMT today and remember to always know your team. To learn more, visit independentmediatoken.com or use the link right in the description. Are you and your family prepared for an emergency? Maybe the fake alien invasion? Now is the time to prepare yourself and your family for any event. Check out Prep Starts Now. Their mission is to provide high-quality preparedness products that empower individuals and families to be ready for any situation. They're committed to delivering reliable, trusted gear to ensure your safety, security, and peace of mind in times of need. Their product selection is carefully curated to provide you with the essential gear you need to stay prepared. From emergency kits to tactical tools, every item is chosen for its reliability and practicality. Prep Starts Now understands the importance of family, and their goal is to equip you with everything you need to build a solid plan for your family's preparedness. In today's ever-changing world, being prepared is more important than ever, and Prep Starts Now is here to help you and your family stay ready with quality products and practical guidance. Use the link in the description and get 15% off your order. Watch Doors of Perception now on Amazon Prime. We live in an incredible age of information. More and more, we're discovering that we've been lied to and misled about much of our human history. Cory Hughes is providing profound revelations about World War I, World War II, the JFK assassination, Martin Luther King's assassination, and much, much more on his new Substack, Bloody History. Subscribe now for as little as $5 monthly. Just click that link right in the description to get started now and learn about our true history.